Right. So welcome, Guat-Ching, welcome, Samson. It is a pleasure to be seeing the two of you this evening. It is feels a little bit odd because for one whole month we've not been meeting. So now being able to join to see you, it is such a pleasure and honor for me. So I'd like to bid you welcome to this session on improving your emotional intelligence in the workplace. And I see that we have someone just joining us, so welcome. I do not know your name because it is not stated there. However, I bid you welcome to this session. We are just starting, and just to remind that this is part of our monthly self-leadership series. I'm doing the self-leadership series every second Thursday of the month. And we also have the series on neurosemantics, meta coaching, and parenting. And I, again, would like to bid you welcome to this session. And my greatest wish is that you all being here, you will take away with you something that is useful, something that is beneficial, something that you can use for yourself to enrich yourself. So that's my wish whenever I have sessions such as this. In case you are joining in for the first time, I'm Mazuki. I'm a neurosemantics trainer and meta coach. I represent Malaysia in the international leadership team of the International Society of Neurosemantics. And in my work, I help people to systematically develop skills in leading, communicating, and coaching to bring out the best in yourself and others. By actualizing that, you can experience an exceptional quality of life filled with happiness, creativity, and fulfillment. Before we go on, just a couple of frames that I would like to mention that will be, thank you, Guat-Ching, for that feedback that you gain something useful, and that makes it all the more worthwhile for me to have these sessions. Now, in the 60 minutes or so together, we'll be discussing on the definition of emotional intelligence and how it applies in the workplace. And then I'll just go through some examples of situations in the workplace when someone has a high emotional intelligence, and for someone who has low emotional intelligence, because this could help you identify the kind of workplace that you have. And we'll also be discussing on the benefits and advantages of using emotional intelligence in business, and also what happens when there is a lack of emotional intelligence and how EQ can be used to manage and address problems in the workplace. Now, as usual, I will pause for discussion after each main point. The reason for this is to invite questions or comments if you would like to do that, because one of the things, hi Lily, great to see that you are joining us. Pleasure to have you join us.
Sorry, Mazuki, because just now my Zoom was having problem. Okay. So I dropped and then I sign again.
Yeah, understandable. Thank you. Yeah, and my style is not to go on talking, because sometimes if I speak for too long, I get uncomfortable. Now, I would like to, that's why after 1 point or 2 points, I prefer to just pause so that I can listen to you, so that I can understand what is it that you have in your mind, if you have any comments that you like to make, anything that you like to add to that. So that's what I will also do. Yeah, so I hope that it will be a two-way discussion instead of just one way from me. And a little warning over here that my style is to be light and humorous. So if I laugh or smile, I'm never laughing at you, but at our silly human qualities. My purpose is to lighten things up, reduce being serious, and be more real. Now, what we'll be discussing this evening is from an article written by Courtney E. Ackerman. He wrote an article, sorry, she wrote an article called How to Improve Emotional Intelligence in the Workplace. So when I read the article, I said, hey, this is a very good topic that I would like to share with you, and I hope that you will gain the same benefit as I did when I read that article. So before we continue on, just again to welcome those of you who are here. Guat Ching is not able to say anything; she's just following by audio, and thank you for joining us. And similarly, Samson is not able to come in with video as well because of bandwidth, so that leaves on the screen you, Lily. So I really appreciate that you are here with all that beautiful wallpaper in the back there.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Now let's get started about what is emotional intelligence in the workplace. So let me just start my screen sharing. Yes. So the first point that I would like to bring to your attention is what is emotional intelligence in the workplace. Now, I do believe that the topic of emotional intelligence is not something new to you because it's been around for ages. It's just that this session is about looking into how we can bring it in the workplace so that it becomes a place where when we work, it is that much easier and more effective. So by definition, EQ, now just taking a step back, emotional intelligence sometimes is shortened to EQ or EI. So so whichever that suits you, whether EQ or EI, that's quite okay. Now, EQ refers to someone's ability to perceive, understand, and manage their own feelings and emotion. So that's one of the primary, I would say, definitions for EQ, emotional intelligence, because when it comes to when we talk about emotional intelligence from the NLP and neurosemantics perspective, we know that it covers 3 domains. Yeah. Emotional intelligence, first domain is the domain of emotion. Second domain is the domain of communication. And the third domain is the domain of relationship. Of course, communication and relationship is one and the same. So when we talk about EQ in the context of the workplace, do we have that ability to perceive other people's emotion, to understand those and manage our feelings and emotions, and also to facilitate others to manage their feelings and emotions? So that's also part of EQ. So let's take a look at the components of EQ or EI over here. Now, what I have shared on the screen is, to me, a very, I would say, a very quick way for me to remember what EQ is. And so we have the quadrant. We have the quadrant of awareness at the top, and the axis of awareness at the top and management at the bottom. So when you go to the top there, that's awareness, and the bottom over here it's management. And the axis on the left side is the axis of self, and then the axis of others. So looking at this awareness and to be aware and to manage things about ourselves and others. So that's how we get these 4 quadrants. The quadrant of self-awareness. So that's about self being aware. Then self-managing is what we call self-management. And how about others? So one is other awareness, which we call social awareness. So when we are aware about how other people are feeling, emoting, so we are talking about social awareness. And then the other element is when we moving into the area of managing about others. So that is what we call relationship management. And another name for self-management is self-leadership. Is about when we talk about managing ourselves, that's what self-leadership is all about. So in terms of the components of emotional intelligence, one is the component of self-awareness. Another is the component of self-regulation, that self-management, self-leadership, how we regulate ourselves. In regulating ourselves, that is where this is also one of the issues that people tend to face, is that, oh, I don't have motivation to do this. I'm supposed to do this, but I don't have that. So this is also part of self-management, the internal motivation. The reason why it is mentioned separately is because for most people, they when people talk about internal motivation or intrinsic motivation, they don't realize that it is all about managing self. Then the other component is empathy. So that is social awareness, to be aware of how other people are emoting and feeling. So that's empathy. And the last one are social skills, or what we call relationship management. So these are what we are referring to as the components of emotional intelligence. So at a glance, when you look at these components, it's easy for you to see how emotional intelligence applies in the workplace, isn't it? Yeah, clearly, workers with higher in self-regulation, people who are high in intrinsic motivation, social skills, they are one up. They are having the advantage against those who have less, haven't they? Yeah, because when a person is able to regulate themselves, manage themselves in the workplace, and intrinsic motivation gives them that drive. And one of the things that are frequently mentioned as something that is missing in leaders today is the intrinsic motivation. So this boils down to self-leadership. Yeah. So this is so at a glance from that from this what I call slide that I'm showing you, I hope that you are able to appreciate why emotional intelligence is so important in the workplace. Now, emotional intelligence was first defined and established as a construct in psychology back in the 1990s, but interest in it has grown exponentially since then, especially in its application in the workplace. Now, emotional intelligence expert Daniel Goleman shares his view on why there is so much interest on emotional intelligence in the workplace. So let me just put up this quotation from Daniel Goleman, and it will give us a better appreciation of why emotional intelligence is so important. Now, what he said is that the interest in emotional intelligence in the workplace stems from the widespread recognition that these four abilities. What are the four abilities? Self-awareness, self-management, empathy, and social skill. Yeah, aware of self and to control self, aware of others and to control the social interaction with others. So these four abilities, these are what separate the most successful workers and leaders from the average leaders. Yeah. Why? And what he said here is that this is especially true in roles like the professions and higher level executives, where everyone is about as smart as everyone else. And how people manage themselves and their relationships is what gives the best and edge. So especially in the technical areas, we are talking about people are almost at par, at the same level. And that is why you notice that people who do so much better in the workplace are the people who are able to relate and connect and interact with other human beings. So that is what will bring people to the higher levels in the workplace. So that is why, because as the higher up the levels that you go in the workplace, it is not so much about your technical skills anymore. You may be an accountant, you are excellent in audit or in finances. You may be an excellent in the area of engineering or in physics or in mathematics, and there are so many other people who are also excellent and highly skilled in those areas. However, the higher up the echelon that you in an organization that you go, what happens is that you tend to deal with more people, and that's where emotional intelligence comes to the fore. Because what is emotional intelligence? It's about managing our emotions, how we relate with other human beings, and how we communicate with other human beings. So that will give that edge. So that is why nowadays there is so much more interest in emotional intelligence, because when we look at people at the same level of skill in terms of the technical area, the one who has greater skill in communicating and relating with other human beings, these are the ones who will gain more success in the workplace. So that's the first point that I'm bringing. What is emotional intelligence in the workplace? I'd like to pause there and ask any one of you if you have any questions or comments with just that first point. Yeah? So go ahead.
Yeah, for me, right, you know, like in our society or even at work, we can't get rid of our people. I think for, you know, how to manage our emotion and all this is really, really very important. Because for me, right, I just left my company last week. Yeah, because I mean when the job that I in, right, actually dealing, I'm kind of in the middle. I deal with the senior leaders, and I deal with the you know, the so-called the employees, because my job is to support all the senior leaders. Okay. And you know that everyone have their own styles and ways, right? And my role is to make sure that we have you know, people strategy program in place and all this, and make sure people are doing that. And then the main point is all these people that they are willing to take up the leadership role, it's not their core job. It's not like in their performance indicator or their KPI. So with that, when I do the approach with them, I need to be very, very careful, and also like one of the words that is empathy. Right? I need to be in their shoes, because they have their work, you know, that is their core, and comparing this is more important than what they're going to support the company, right? So for me, I fully agree with what have been written there, you know, empathy, and then your self management in terms of your emotion and all this. It's really, really very critical. But thanks God that I managed to, you know, work with all of them for 7 years. Yeah, almost 7 years. Yeah. So yeah, I just left the job last week.
Okay, that's very recent. Thank you for thank you for sharing that with us. Appreciate that very much. Yeah.
Okay, I agree with what you say. The one who has the higher communicating and also relating skill set, the one will be gain more success, because you can see that so many the higher level is all about communicating and how do you build the relationship with other people.
Thank you, Guat Ching. Thank you. Right, so let's grab a couple more points from this. So I'm just putting on my screen share again. Looking on this next point, which is why is developing EQ important in the workplace? Yeah. Why is it important for us to develop our emotional intelligence? Now, emotional intelligence is a vital consideration in the workplace for many reasons. Yeah. However, there are two reasons that really stand out. So what are these two reasons? One is that it is linked to higher job satisfaction. When people go to work, I mean, nowadays, reading a lot of news that's happening worldwide, America is going through what is called the Great Resignation, meaning to say the people who resign for their jobs, to a certain extent, it shows that they are not satisfied with the job. Now, it is emotional intelligence. It is linked to higher job satisfaction for people who have high emotional intelligence, as well as employees who work with or are managed by those with high EQ. Now, if you are familiar with the statistics, that more than 80% of the people who resign, more than 80% of them resign because of their bosses. Not because of the job itself, but because of the bosses. So this is an indicator how important emotional intelligence is. Because when you, as the boss, you do not know how to interact and relate with your staff, that's when they leave. So this is what we are referring to. Emotional intelligence is linked to higher job satisfaction. Yes?
Sorry, I just want to clarify, I left not because of this.
Yeah, people leave for many different reasons. Some for greener pastures, so to speak. But according to the study, yes, that a big chunk. And to me, that is a shame, because when people go to work in any organization, what they want to do is to bring whatever skill that they have and apply it in the workplace. Yes, the workplace is giving them their income, their salary in order for them to survive in their lives, but people want to contribute. It's just that when the bosses, those who manage them, are not high in emotional intelligence, that's when these people feel disenchanted. Yeah. So employees who are high in emotional intelligence also tend to be higher in job satisfaction, because when a person has higher emotional intelligence, something happened out there in the workplace that that is not to their liking. They're able to console themselves. They say, okay, things turn out badly, but I can soldier on. And because of that, that raises their job satisfaction. So that's one. The other one is that from job satisfaction, emotional intelligence is also strongly associated with job performance. Yeah. So in addition to contributing to greater happiness and satisfaction in employees, higher emotional intelligence also contributes to better job performance. I mean, that's quite obvious, right? When your emotions are giving you comfort, you are feeling happy working in this place, what happens is that the performance will also increase. And we can see when people's emotions are down, when people are sick, sometimes emotionally sick, but most people in fact, when you are physically sick, your emotions are also affected. And because of that, your job performance also drops, isn't it? Yeah. So these are the two vital main reasons why emotional intelligence is important in the workplace. I'd like to welcome Hashim, who's just joined us. Thank you for joining us, Hashim. Glad that you can make it this evening. Now, moving on to the next point is the question of how does emotional intelligence have such an impact on job performance? The reason why this point is there is that sometimes, you know, some people think that in the place of work, don't bring your emotion here. Just do your work, and that's enough. It's just like we human beings. We come with our intellect. We come with our emotions as well, because our intellect and emotion is the one that is driving our body in order to move. So what we are looking at is how is it that emotional intelligence have such a high impact on job performance. Is the first one is that higher emotional intelligence gives a person greater emotional stability. Yeah, so a person feels more stable, greater ability to manage their own emotions and tolerate stress. When we are interacting with other human beings, especially when other human beings are operating in ways that are different from the way that we operate, so that creates stress in our in the workplace. Yes, and Guat Ching put in over here, a happy worker is a productive worker, and I completely agree with that. And I'm starting to smile over here because because I noticed this happening over the Puasa month. I mean, age has got a strange way of affecting your body. And what I'm noticing in the last few years is that during the fasting month, my body, I'm experiencing more and more weakness in the body, to the extent that I cannot get into focus. And what happens is that because the weakness is coming from the body, yeah, because of no food, feeling hungry, the weakness comes through the body, and because of that, it's affecting my emotions. So I'm using a lot more energy to handle the emotion, and because of that, the energy is going there. I'm losing focus on work. So yeah. And that's how our body is a systemic system. One part affects the other. So emotional stability is one reason why emotional intelligence has such an impact on job performance. The next one is conscientiousness. This has got what 1, 2, 3, 4 syllables, so a little bit difficult for me to pronounce. Conscientiousness, referring to the tendency to be diligent, hardworking, and control impulses. So notice that when we are talking about diligence, it refers to being focused on the task that you have at hand, to put in a higher level of productivity, and to not be distracted by what's around you. So when a person is higher in emotional intelligence, that's when the person can be more conscientious in his or her work. So that's another reason why it has a big impact on job performance. The next one is extraversion. Extraversion is a personality trait that makes people more open and better at establishing relationships with others. So when a person is able to do that, you see, in the workplace, we can't do everything ourselves. We need the output from others for us to carry out a certain process, and then we need to give our output to someone else. So there needs to be that relationship with the people around us. So extraversion, I would say the personality trait makes it easier for that person to be more open, and because of that, you are able to establish better relationships. So this is another point why it has such a big impact. The fourth one here is emotional ability. Emotional intelligence give you greater emotional ability in the sense that individuals' ability to perform emotion-related behaviors like expressing emotions, empathizing with others, and to combine emotion with reasoning. So these are the benefits that you get when you have the ability to run your emotions. Yeah, so you have that ability. Sorry. Right. Next is cognitive ability. Or what is termed as IQ. Studies suggest that there is at least some overlap between IQ and EQ. IQ is more of the serial processing, and EQ is the parallel processing of our information. And there is that overlap. So with higher emotional intelligence, we can tap into more of our intellectual intelligence. So that is referred to the cognitive ability. And there is almost an inverse relationship between IQ and EQ, where sorry, not IQ and EQ, inverse relationship between emotion and reasoning. When emotions goes up, reasoning goes down. So that is why a person with higher emotional intelligence, when they are able to modulate their emotion, so they are experiencing the emotion, however, they're able to modulate it to not allow the emotion go to the extent whereby the emotion overpower their intellectual ability, so they retain their cognitive ability. Yeah. Next is that general self-efficacy. Yeah. How emotional intelligence impact job performance is that it gives the person the confidence in the ability to cope with the demands of our job. Now, self-efficacy is feeling a sense of assuredness or confidence in doing something that we have not done before, or we do not have the skill for. However, when we are able to manage our emotions, when we do something that we've never done before, we don't feel so confident. And having higher emotional intelligence, we are able to handle that feeling of lack of confidence, and to lean towards our ability to learn something new in order to solve the task at hand. So this is how emotional intelligence gives us greater self-efficacy. And the seventh one is self-rated job performance. It refers to being aware of the quality of one's own work. When a person is able to manage and handle their own emotion, they can look at the quality of their work and objectively be able to say, what is the quality of my work? Is it at level 5? Is it at level 7? Is it at level 8? So to be able to self-rate his or her own job performance. A person with low emotional intelligence will find that too daunting in the sense that they might want to rate their performance higher than what they actually is, because if they were to realize that the job performance is low, then it will affect them negatively, emotionally, and that creates a chain of unresourceful ways of thinking. Yeah, so that is why these are 7 points related to why emotional intelligence have such an impact on job performance. So let me just pause there in case any one of you has got any questions to ask before I go on to the next point. Thank you, Lily, for asking that question. Will high EQ people tends to be perfectionist? Not necessarily so, because perfectionism is another way of thinking. So it doesn't relate to emotional intelligence at all. So it is another, we call it another meta program. So it is, the word to use is independent. Yeah. Yes, Samson.
Yeah, okay, thank you for sharing this. What I notice is that when it comes to gender, there's like some specific kind of reaction when it comes to emotional intelligence in the workplace, which I think has been a challenge over time. And I don't know what idea do you want to share that
I'm sorry, I've lost all audio from you. I don't quite get what you are saying just now, Samson. I'm sorry.
can use as part of our work with the audience in the workplace, which is a great challenge.
Oh, I'm sorry, Samson. I'm not getting everything what you say. I think some things were cut out. And anyone else who are able to hear what Samson was saying?
No, I don't get also. I think the line is breaking.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Samson. If you can type in the chat box, if you have the ability, I would appreciate that, because I got
okay. What I simply intelligence the okay, I can send a text. Yeah.
Okay, appreciate that. Yeah, because it was so choppy just now. I couldn't understand that. I'm sorry about that. Yeah. Okay, so let's move on. When Samson is completes sending the text, we'll just look at it later. Yeah. So moving on to the next point that I would like to bring is some examples, 7 examples of high and low EQ at work, because one set of situation when a person has higher emotional intelligence, that person will handle that situation in a different way as compared to somebody who has lower emotional intelligence. So let's take a look at this example. The first example is, I believe these are quite common examples that you might find in the workplace. There is an upset employee finds a compassionate ear, meaning to say an employee is upset. Yeah, so we do get moody at times. What you call, I was mentioning just now, when I get hungry, I get moody as well. So our moods goes up and down as a type. Now, how a person deals with the co-workers or employees when they are having a bad day is a good indication about her emotional intelligence level. Yeah. So if this person, if she doesn't even notice the moodiness, ignores the employee, exacerbates the bad mood, or criticizes the employees and tells them to snap out of it, then that is an indicator that that person has low emotional intelligence. On the other hand, if she notices that something's up, so the part of emotional intelligence is to have the ability to detect what do you call them? Detect non-verbal communication. So notices that something is up, then offers the employee compassion and understanding and tries to cheer the employee up or distract them from their woes. So that is an indicator that she has high emotional intelligence. So notice the spectrum. Yeah, somebody who has low emotional intelligence may not be able to detect that, and because of that, the employee may feel unwanted or unappreciated. However, when a person who has high emotional intelligence takes the time to address that, to allow the person to be able to handle his or her emotions. So this is one example, because when you have a higher level of emotional intelligence, you are able to help an employee to handle their own upset in that. Okay, so that's one example. Another example is in meetings. Yeah, so when a person has higher emotional intelligence, that gives that person the ability to listen to others. Yeah. Now, when we talk about meeting, not all meetings are productive, are positive. Sometimes meetings can devolve into everyone talking at once. No one is offering any input at all, or worst of all, shouting and heated arguments. So if an employee does any of those things in a meeting, that is an indicator of low emotional intelligence. Now, if he allows others to have their say, listens attentively, refrain from interrupting others, and gently but effectively keeps asking everyone on task, so he is probably high in emotional intelligence. So notice how more effective it is. Yeah? Because by listening to others, by not interrupting, now you are able to draw from your team members the resources that you need in order to complete the work that you are doing. So this is another indicator or another, I would say, reason why emotional intelligence is important, because it gives you the ability to listen to others in meeting. The third one is that people express themselves openly. People who are high in emotional intelligence, they are able to express themselves openly. A person who is comfortable speaking up about things that are important and is just as comfortable listening to others talk about their opinions is showing high workplace emotional intelligence. If an that person keeps bottling up or gets upset when people disagree with them, then that is an indicator that that person is having low emotional intelligence, because that person might be sparring with the co-workers about their opinion, meaning to say, let's say that the person has keeps things bottled up when people have a different opinion and they want to argue against that opinion. So that is an indicator that that person is low in emotional intelligence, as opposed to someone who is high in emotional intelligence. They are confident enough to give voice to their opinion. At the same time, they have the patience and the acceptance to be able to listen to other people's opinion, even when they disagree with those opinions. So by having the higher emotional intelligence allows you to be able to express yourself fully. Yeah. So that's the third one. The fourth example over here is that when people have high emotional intelligence, most change initiatives work. If a workplace is generally high in emotional intelligence, it likely handles change well. Yeah, change initiatives are probably taken seriously and carried out in earnest, because emotionally intelligent people are not afraid of change. They might be unsure, but they're able to handle that doubt, that insecurity. They're able to handle that, and because of that, they're able to handle that change. On the flip side, workplaces with low emotional intelligence tend to be resistant to change, fail to put in the effort necessary to make change initiatives succeed, or even actively sabotage them. I wonder if you have come across situations where people sabotage change because they do not want change to happen, because they don't know how to handle their own feelings. Yeah. So this is also another example in the workplace. When people are high in emotional intelligence, they are able to bring in that change and work towards putting the change into place. Fifth example over here is flexibility. A workplace that offers flexibility and understanding of the complex, busy lives of organization members is one that is probably high in emotional intelligence. Managers and executives who accept that people have differing needs and offer ways to work smarter are displaying a good sense of emotional intelligence. On the other hand, managers and executives who refuse to allow their employees flexibility and hold strictly to the way things have always been done. Have you ever heard that? That is how we have been doing things around here. Don't go. So they become very rigid. Yeah. So we don't change for the sake of change. However, we change for the sake of development and growth. So when people have low emotional intelligence, they fear that change. The reason being is they are not able to handle that doubt. Yeah. So next one is in an environment where people have high emotional intelligence, then people have the freedom to be creative. So workplaces that allows the employees the opportunity to be creative and innovative are high in emotional intelligence. Giving people the chance to practice their creativity and think outside of the box is not only a welcome gesture for employees, it's also a smart move for the workplace. Because when people are creative, you see, not all of your creative ideas work. We need to realize that. So people who are highly emotionally intelligent, they know that not all creative ideas work, and they are able to handle the so-called failures. And because of that, people are able to feel safe in making mistakes. And because of that, people are more creative. Now, workplaces that make the employees stick to strict policies and procedures tend to be low in emotional intelligence. These are in the context of when there is no need for certain strictness. The reason why I say that is that if you are working on the production line, and in order to turn a few wires and diodes into an LED light, there is a strict procedure that you need to follow. In those situations, yes, you do need the strict procedures. But in a lot of situations relating to human interaction, you don't need strict procedures because people are different. So this is where emotional intelligence is important, because it allows people to be able to be creative because they feel safe in doing things differently, because people with high emotional intelligence are able to handle any failures that come out from creativity that doesn't work. As I think Einstein, he used the word, genius is 99% perspiration and 1% inspiration. I don't know if he's been misquoted, but yes, we have the inspiration, the creativity to do things. However, to make it work, you need to test and experiment. So this is how when people have higher emotional intelligence, they create creativity in the workplace. And last but not least here is that in an environment where there is higher emotional intelligence, people do meet out of work time because they feel safe to meet their fellow co-workers, even outside of the job of the work environment. So this is a good sign of emotional intelligence in the workplace when organization members meet outside of the workplace for social, for leisure. Organizations where employees enjoy happy hours together, having lunch together, or other social activities indicates there is a high level of emotional intelligence. Now, workplaces that don't feature such strong bonds and those in which employees do not spend any non-working time together are likely low in emotional intelligence. Yeah, so these are 7 workplace examples of the emotional intelligence in the workplace. Yeah, so I'm noticing that there are some comments in the chat box. So I'm just going to the chat box over here. Samson put in here, why is it that women are treated, I think it's supposed to be treated, right? Treated differently when it comes to EI in workplace and are often seen as less important, most at times by some leadership. Yeah. Why is it that women are treated differently when it comes to EI in workplace and are often seen as less important, most at times by some leadership? So why do you think that happens? My take on it is that a lot of that has got to do with cultural conditioning. Yeah, cultural conditioning. A lot of societies are male-dominated cultures, and because of that, there is that labeling that men are more suited to leadership role and women are more suited to followership role. So those are cultural conditioning. Yeah, so it is not about men are more important than women, but cultural conditioning starts to do that, and that is why I don't know about Malaysia because they are not. I don't know whether they monitor it or not, but it is not made public. But in the States, they monitor it and it is made public. And yes, Samson, when you say that women are treated differently in terms of salaries as well, women are getting lower salaries than men. So those are all cultural issues that are coming in. Yeah. So,
but nowadays it's no longer that way, right?
Sorry?
Because I mean, nowadays it's no longer this case, right? People are promoting women and promoting women leadership, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that is a lot of company culture if they are not seeing that.
Yeah. So I believe that the reason why women are coming up into the higher echelons of organizations today is because they are because businesses today are multifaceted. Yeah, and one of the I would say one of the strengths of women. So I was about to say women leaders, but this is one of the strengths of women, not all, but one of the strengths of women is that they are able to handle multifaceted problems. Yeah, so that is why they are proving their worth. That is why they are able to rise up to higher levels in the echelon of organizations. It's just that as I was saying that I remember reading some news, even in Malaysia, the numbers of women going at the higher levels of the organizations does not reflect the number of women in organizations. So I would say the cultural bias is still there, and yes, I would agree that in many situations, women have got to prove themselves harder than men, that they are capable because of the biases. So these are bias still in society. Yeah. So yeah, there is a lot of work that we need to do that. Things like the bias that women are more emotional than men. Things like that, because these are all cultural conditioning coming in. Yeah. Yes, Hashim, you would like to say something?
Yeah, I'll talk about this biasness towards women. This is a long historical perspective against or for women. Yeah, it's cultural. Some are distorted religious beliefs, which is very rampant in the society, and they thought that was correct. They misinterpreted the religious belief, and that has actually distorted the reality in the day-to-day life. So I wanted to share my experience listening to a group of women. There were 21 of them who turned up for my program. And these are people who actually rise from zero to heroes or heroines. So when you say women are like that and like this, those are stickers, you know, the templates or the connotation that people has misaligned or put it in certain ways that look women as inferior in many ways. So when I listen to them, they are really having full of energy. What they need as other normal human beings are just strategies. So what we do is we listen to them, and 80% of the time that I listen to them, and 20% of the time I speak to them about the strategy of what to do next. So to be fair, we created human beings, we are having potentials. But the issue in the culture, the issue in the society is the labels. Women are like this and like that, and men are like this and like that. So again, to overgeneralize is always not the wise thing to do. You know? Because some people, they overgeneralize. Like I was having a conversation quite some years ago with a lady from America. I was having a program with a guy from America at that time. And she was questioning about why women was looked down in Malaysia. I said, what do you mean by looked down in Malaysia? Are they inferior in any way? I said, in the UK, they call the national bank, the central bank governor is a lady. And she was shocked. I said, even in our universities, university professors, there are many women who are professors in university. They are scientists, they are engineers, and so on. So sometimes people get into the trap of labeling and overgeneralization. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Hashim. And that is why, as you were saying, that it's important for us, each and everyone as individuals, for us to be critical in our own thinking, to not be drawn into cultural biases. So I really appreciate Samson for putting that question up, because biologically we are different, because biologically we have different roles. However, in terms of intelligence, in terms of capability, and as Aisha mentioned, in terms of potential, there is no difference. The only difference, and you can measure this, how you can see in the real world, there are differences because of the lack of opportunity to develop potentials. Yeah. So if people say that women are not as smart as men, and you can see that in real world. Why? Because women from young in that society, they are not given access to education. That is why in that society, you look at women, you see as if they are not as smart as men. So all of these biases created that social construct that give birth to the bias. When I say give birth to the bias, you have a bias that someone has a bias that women are inferior to men, and because of that, they create social structures to restrict certain of women's activities, and because of that, their potentials are not being developed, and that is why their performance is less than men, and that feeds the bias that women are inferior than men. Yeah, so we have to be very careful with these biases, because these biases will manifest itself. So our beliefs are self-serving prophecy. That's the thing. So if you believe that you're stupid, then you become stupid. Okay, right. Thank you.
Attraction. Yeah, it's law of attraction.
Yeah, law of attraction. Yeah. So yeah, just going through the chat, Rigid, Guat Ching put in there. Yes, always been company culture. Yes, and Lily, you put on change with purpose. So we change we don't change for the sake of changing. We change for the sake of the development that we are going to receive from change. And Samson put in here, always a key challenge in my organization for some leadership, never want to see any creative change. So, and Guat Ching put in here, have freedom to be creative, flexibility, adaptive. So these are important. And Lily put in here, my opinion, change must be with a purpose. Normally when people refuse to change, is because the purpose is not clear or not aligned. And the point that Samson gives there, self-interest, it makes a major role. There, sometimes people, they have been changing, and because of that change, they grow up to a certain level of leadership. Now they are interested in defending that position, so they do not want to allow change to happen. So that can come in. Self-interest is a major issue that that we do face in society. Okay, so let's move on to a couple of points more. I've got here 5 benefits and advantages of that we will experience when we are applying emotional intelligence in business. So what are they? So the first one is motivation. High emotional intelligence translate to better control of our motivation, and perhaps even more motivation for our co-workers. So in a lot of organizations, they talk about the staff not being not having enough motivation, and that's why we need to have all of these kursus motivasi coming in and all that. So these are indicators about the lack of emotional intelligence. Yeah. So the benefit is that when a person is high in emotional intelligence, that person becomes self-motivated. So self-motivated because they are able to take full control of their powers. Next one is common vision. Those high in emotional intelligence are able to more effectively understand and communicate with others, which makes it easier to develop and maintain a common team vision. A lot of organizations, probably the founders have the vision about what they want to achieve, and they begin going towards it, and people come in and join them going towards it. However, if those founders do not have high emotional intelligence, they are not able to communicate the vision for the organization, and because of that, people are not able to help them to achieve that vision. So people with high emotional intelligence, they're able to translate that vision to others, to transmit that vision to others, so that others can contribute and collaborate with them in achieving those vision. The next benefit of using EQ in business is change. Highly emotionally intelligent people can handle the stress, uncertainty, and anxiety that comes with working in business. And because they are able to handle that, they can continually change the business according to the changing business landscape. Yeah, so this is another benefit of a high emotional intelligence in business. And the fourth one is not surprising, communication, because one of the domains of emotional intelligence is communication and relationship. So clear communication is a telltale sign of emotional intelligence, and it contributes to better relationships and easier time getting help from others, and more effective persuasion and influencing of others. In business, isn't that what we are doing to influence people to make decisions in a certain way? Yeah. And the last but not least, the benefit of emotional intelligence is leadership, in terms of self-leadership, leading others, influencing others ethically, influencing others. All of these are vital for those in business, because what is business is about influencing people to understand the quality of the product or service that you are bringing. So these are 5 benefits and advantages of bringing emotional intelligence into business. And the final point that I would like to bring for this evening is that what happens when there is a lack of emotional intelligence in the workplace. Now, there are 2 main ways that a lack of emotional intelligence can negatively impact the workplace. One is communication. The second one is decision making. So when there is a lack of emotional intelligence, communication and decision making will be impacted negatively. So let's take a look at how emotional intelligence affects communication in the workplace. Yeah. So when there is a lack of emotional intelligence, what happens is that there is less understanding of one's own emotions. Do you notice sometimes you are even fearful of your own emotions, and some people are fearful of their emotion because they don't understand it. That is part and parcel of being a human being, to be able to emote, to be able to feel. So when a person is lacking in emotional intelligence, they don't understand their own emotions. Next one is that less understanding of the emotions of others. There will be less empathy there. and less effective communication of ideas and emotions to people. Because when you don't understand your emotion, you don't understand the emotions of others, then you are not able to have effective communication of the ideas and emotions to others. And the fourth one here is that there'll be inappropriate communication related behavior. When a person has low emotional intelligence, then there will be a lot of this inappropriate behavior coming out, such as you have emotional outbursts, oversharing, or failing to communicate important information. So all of this comes into the workplace. So you ask yourself how effective the workplace will be when all of these things are impacting the communication in the workplace. Okay. Now, how does emotional intelligence affect decision making in the workplace? One is that when emotional intelligence is high, organization members can understand the cause and effect relationship between emotions and events. And when they understand the relationship between emotion and event, then they can plan effectively. So this is one, I would say, a big reason how emotional intelligence impact decision making. When emotional intelligence is low, organization members may experience incidental emotions surrounding decision making. For example, anxiety is a common emotion involved in decision making, especially for big decisions that will have a significant impact. Now, those low in emotional intelligence may not understand the source of their anxiety and how to effectively manage it, leading to too much risk-taking or not enough risk-taking or judgment clouded by bias. So notice how it diminishes the quality of the decision-making when a person is not able to manage their emotions because of low emotional intelligence. So this is what happens in the organization, because two primary things are impacted when the organization is performing as a low emotional intelligence organization. It impacts the communication and also impacts the decision making. Okay, so that's the final point that I would like to bring to your discussion for this evening. So let me see if you have any comments or questions with respect to how emotional intelligence affects the workplace. So anyone has got any questions or comments? Or if you want to share something that you have observed in the workplace. Yes, go ahead, Ashim.
This is regarding my observations. It can be for 5-year-old kids or a 50-year-old man. Because sometimes a man carries his childhood into his adulthood.
Yes.
Especially you talk about emotional intelligence. Now, I was observing one of my grandsons, and his name is Hood. He is 5 years old. So I was asking my son, my elder son, what do you say when he is sort of angry or he's not good? Then he will say to Hood, Hood, take a deep breath and control your anger. And then the Hood will say, I cannot control my anger. So, but in adulthood, maybe people do not say that, but they say, what is good about controlling anger? and that comes to your matrices just now, the self-development, and also the self-control or the self-awareness. So maybe a 5-year-old child is not aware yet of that he can control his anger. That's why I say, I cannot control my anger. So, I mean, I observe and I see this is where in the workplace that when somebody cannot contain or cannot have that self control or self the awareness, that is why everything goes not as it was planned. So meeting goes haywires, changes do not happen because the emotional intelligence is not present in the workplace. You know. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, this is something that when you mentioned it triggered this thought in my mind. There is a difference between not to say there is a difference between emotional intelligence doesn't mean that you don't feel the emotion. Yeah. So when you say about I cannot control my anger, an emotionally intelligent person feels the anger. It's just that an emotionally intelligent person is able to control his behavior. And so when we talk about emotional management, it doesn't mean that we don't feel those. Probably an emotionally intelligent person feels more emotion than others, more varieties of emotion because they welcome this emotion. It's just that what they are controlling is that the behaviors are behaviors that are bringing them benefits for themselves and for the people around them. Yeah, so I would say certain, to some extent, I would say a few years ago, people have this notion that, you cannot let your emotions show, you cannot allow yourself to feel this and that emotion. Now, tabooing emotion is a sign of low emotional intelligence. Yeah, so thank you for mentioning that. Samson put in, is there a link with workplace emotional intelligence and that of the house? So what do you think?
Charity starts from the home.
Yeah. It starts from the home. So
yeah, charity start from home.
Thank you, Guat Ching, putting in there. I acknowledge my true feeling. I accept my feeling. I control my reactions towards my emotion. Yeah, that's basically the crux of what an emotionally intelligent person does. To accept whatever emotion that they feel and know that it is just their emotion that they are experiencing, to accept that. That is emotionally intelligent. And then to manage their outward behavior, the reactions, as Guat Ching puts it. Okay, thank you. Okay, I believe that's what I have prepared for you for this evening. I hope that you gain something of value from that. And as usual, when I have this session, this is the part where I really look forward to, is I want to know what is your takeaway from this evening's discussion. So I would like to invite each and every one of you, if you are able to access your mic, let me know what is your takeaway. If not, you can put in the chat box. If you don't mind, let me start off with Samson. Samson, what is your key takeaway from this session?
Yeah, thank you, Mazuki. Yeah, my takeaway is the very important aspects and the qualities of the emotional intelligence that one has been working with, but not really understanding it as it is. So I'm better off with a lot of ideas now on how to use it in my workplace and also to encourage others.
Okay. Thank you, Samson. I hope that you'll be able to make use of it in the workplace. Thank you very much for that. Yeah. So next, Guat Ching, are you able to give voice this evening?
Thank you, Marzuki. I found it's a very useful session, and most of the key takeaways I already dropped down in the chat box.
Okay, right. Thank you, Guat Ching. Appreciate your being here, your support, and all the comments that you've made there. Appreciate those. Hashim, go ahead. You're next.
Yeah, I learned quite a number of things from the matrices and from your explanation of the, especially the benefits of having the emotional intelligence at the workplace. It actually, it can either impede or improve a company based on the emotionally intelligent people that are or that is in the company. Thank you.
Thank you, Hashim. And last but not least, Lily, go ahead.
Yeah, first of all, thank you, Marzuki, for having me here. And I think it is a very good reminder for me about the EQ, how it could impact, our interaction with people, even though our intrapersonal skill as well. And I think one of the things that the most important part is, I think a lot of us did not aware on our biasness. Also, like what you mentioned about the cultural biasness, but I think in us, sometimes we do have that kind of bias, but we didn't aware. And that also make very much impact on ourselves and to others as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lily. And wow, I like this one. Guat Ching put inside the chat box there. Bad EQ, your blood pressure will go up first. Absolutely, it's hazardous to your health. So that's why having a high emotional intelligence is so important to you. And just to mention, Noria, thank you for joining us. We are just wrapping up the whole session. So what I will do is that I'll send you the link to the recording. So that's why we are recording. I just want to say I appreciate your being here. Is there anything that you would like to say before we end the session? Because Lily has just put in the last word there, and we are ending the session now. It's complete.
Sorry, I joined very late. Just I will see the recording now.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Just to let you know that I appreciate your being here. So that's why we make the recording, because sometimes people are not able to join in at the start time. So what I would like to say this evening is that I really appreciate all of you being here, and thank you for sharing with me your takeaway for this session. I hope that what you have gained from this session, you'll be able to bring it into your lives and enrich your lives in whatever way that suits you. So with that, I would like again to say thank you, good night, and I hope to be seeing you again the next time. Good night and bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, thank you. Assalamualaikum. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.